All right, everyone. Welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy Fears video with Fat Film. We are joined by Rabid, Beaver. Tonight, we're going to be speculating on the raid teams. If you missed the first part of this, stop watching this video. Go on his channel. It's going to be linked down below. Go give him a follow. Go subscribe to him. He's much better at this than I am. And he doesn't yawn during his video. He doesn't yawn during his videos, so that's a plus, too. But we kind of talk about ways to be preparing there, whether you're free to play, late game, end game, because obviously not everybody's in the same boat here, and it's going to take some different, juice advice to get you there. So Beaver man, how are you doing tonight? What's going on with you?
Oh, I'm having a damn good time. Love being here with you, my friend. Just hanging out on a Sunday. Finally have a day off after a long week of work. So,
Do you work 6 days or you work 5?
because of how much YouTube I've been doing, I've been cutting down to 4 days of work. So,
Damn, good for you.
yeah, but those 4 days this last week, it's been like 10 to 11-hour shifts every time. I'm like,
Ooh.
not liking this.
Yeah, I don't have to do many. I get the 5 days, get in, but some days when I'm traveling for work, it's like a 16, 17-hour day without fail. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Love that so much.
Yeah, seriously. If it wasn't paying the bills, but I guess I need to, keep a roof over my children's head. That helps. Just small things to do.
Yeah, just small things. When you have a family, it's a little bit more important. For me, it's like it's just me, so I can kind of do whatever I want as long as I'm not, eating ramen every day. I'm happy.
I eat ramen more often than I don't.
Dude, to be fair, people bag on ramen constantly, but it's still freaking delicious, and you can do so much with it, whether it's just throwing some chicken in there or like whatever it might be. It's gonna be fantastic. The people bag on ramen way too often.
I drink cheap beer, I eat ramen, and that's my way of paying for my girls' college fund, is that I'm not spending it on good beer or legitimate food. Like,
fair enough.
but we're here not to talk about that, but to talk about, kind of speculating on some raid teams. And so, Rabir, why don't you give me your ally code here, kind of introduce us to your account briefly, and then give me kind of your first take of what you think a raid team would be that's not already Bad Batch, Clones, Jedi Vanguard BS.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead and throw in 529 659 214.
All right. Oh, see, and I gotta say, respect for the fact that your name is Rabid Beaver in game, because nothing infuriates me more than when you try to search for someone and their name is something random, and you're like, just use the name that you use on YouTube. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Pay 200 crystals.
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, so my accounts, how long I've been playing, basically how long Arnold's free-to-play account's been playing. I've been playing 3 months less than that. So what, 4 years now? Almost exactly. I think I actually hit my 4-year anniversary in like 14 days.
Oh shit.
Yeah, but yeah, so I've been playing for about 4 years. I got 6 GLs, 10.8 mil, I believe, GP,
Yep.
and only 1 GL fleet. That'll be changing to 3 by the end of the month.
God, you.
Yeah. So I built my account for off meta. That's the whole shtick that I've always done, is building it for off meta. So like I've had every off meta fleet counter ready to go, but then they destroyed all of the off meta fleet counters when they introduced the punishing one and the TIE Dorito, and now my roster's in shambles and I hate it.
Gotta get that Marauder up and running.
I just finished it, dude. I like literally just finished it before the Lightspeed bundle came out.
It's like the worst part of that is it's not just that you need the Marauder, but you need like not negotiator. You need the endurance. And a lot of players who maybe could get the Marauder, could get everything else, but then it's, I need a Relic Mace Windu, and I need all the prestige on this ship to make it work. And you're like, crap, you know what? It's not that easy.
Yeah, dude, I'm actually really close to being done with Prestige, period, which I'm very excited for.
Nice.
But But yeah, like when it came to the Marauder, I was like, I have to get the Marauder up. I didn't have a Relic Mace window. My Mace window has been Gear 12 for 3 years. So I'm like, I got to do all of this from scratch. So it's been fun trying to kind of catch up with the meta now that the changes have happened.
So, from your account's perspective, obviously, I think you've told me, again, that you're going to be going for the new clone troopers because you love the clone troopers and you love Lord Vader, which respect, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love Lord Vader as well. What would you say is the first team that you think is the most, or characters, team, whatever, that is the most logical to you to be the free to play faction for this raid? One of them.
Oh, it's such a hard question because you look at it and there's like they haven't really done repeats of characters anywhere, and so like that eliminates a lot of Jedi out of our overall stuff that we can utilize, and even some that like translate to Jedi Vanguard, which is interesting. And I
Yep.
do see them doing like they're very much doing a defense of the Jedi Temple based off of the Jedi Vanguard faction being kind of like the big faction with the legendary for it. But we always get like kind of the other side as well. The one that I'm kind of hoping for because they announced Lord Vader's not in the raid is actually Gas and the Clone.
Ooh,
It's
okay.
kind of a weird one, but
Yep.
like it's one that a lot of people have access to. It's a $50 Lightspeed bundle if they want to sell it to people. And so for me, this seems like a little bit more on the free to play side, but also could be something that they can sell to people. It feels good to me for this.
I actually love this shout because General Skywalker is a requirement for Ahsoka and Lord Vader at Relic 8. Rex is required for Ahsoka. Arc Trooper and Echo are required for Lord Vader. And fives, I mean, if you don't build fives, you're an idiot. Um, so they're all
True.
very they're very free to play accessible. There's a million reasons to farm them outside of anything for the raid. So I love this shout, and I think it could very well fit. It'll be weird to watch General Skywalker and 501st like defend against like Lord Vader and clone troopers, but they I think you're on to, I'm glad you started with this faction
Mm-hmm.
because it brings up a very good point that you brought up on your channel where in the battle for Naboo, you've got Darth Maul, Sidious, and Newt Gunray fighting separatist droids.
Yep.
And that
And
doesn't
so
have
I yeah,
Go ahead.
it doesn't make sense. It doesn't. CG likes to make their own rules, but it doesn't make sense. Then so it's not just we're not just looking at the factions that are going to be on the side of what the battle about, where the battle for Naboo is not just going to be the good guys; it'll be the bad guys too. And so it would make sense that it would be the same thing here. And Gas does have a ramping mechanic, which I think is the big reason why Lord Vader's not allowed in the raid. But it's not nearly as much as a GL would be, because like we saw in the Battle for Naboo like test for Conquest. You remember that where they let us test the Battle for
Oh,
Naboo B1s?
yep.
Yeah. And it was just basically you throw SLKR in with Wat Tambor, and then you let SLKR ramp, and then he one taps the whole team every single round for 15 minutes until your game crashes or you succeed in getting the B1 challenge. Like
Oh,
that's
that's
basically just how it worked.
yeah.
And so like if they were to add Lord Vader, it'd be the same thing. He'd ramp to the point where he just sits there and wipes every single round with just one AoE over and over again until the raid ends. And so it makes sense why they would pop out in these wave based raids. They pop out high ramping characters, but I feel like Gas is kind of a good middle ground where he's not insanely ramping. It's only 2% offense per time, but like if
Well,
you play it right, I think this would be a good one.
it is 2% per buff. So that
Yeah,
can
but it
that
can like you look at it like Quadme. I don't know if you've taken these guys up against Quadme recently,
yeah.
but I've done that the last three GACs, and it's hilarious because that team gets like 30 buffs around, and so you're just like you go after Obi-Wan and he just dies in one tap, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
my favorite counter with this team back in the day was Rey. And my favorite was when BB-8 would be in the team and they'd get their like illuminated destiny, and he'd spread out all the buffs because you just start laughing at that point because you knew the match was over and this is obviously before Ben Solo was in the game, so you just start targeting Rey and hitting for like 200k at that point, and it didn't matter.
Yeah. And so I'm hoping this one's around, especially because this was a PP for me. This was like my first passion project in the game. I went for SLKR, like a good little boy following Arnold's free-to-play guide. And then I was like looking at it and I was like, I really want gas. Anakin was my favorite character growing up. I want gas. But, it's better to go for Sith Eternal than Executor. And I was like, nope, I'm going for gas because then I could justify it by saying Malevolence can't be beaten by Finalizer and I need a fleet that can beat Malevolence. So guess we're going for Negotiator. So I justified it fully in my mind and went for this as like my next farm after my first major one.
I did Sith Eternal first, and then I did General Skywalker, which is that was my next, the next thing that I did. Which was,
well, I mean, you have the Relic 7 Anakin, might as well, right?
Yeah. The funniest thing with that back in the day, I don't know when you beat the General Skywalker battle, but I did it.
It was long after Relic.
Okay, I did it pre-nerf, so I only. I don't know if you know this, so I started the game at launch, and then I kind of set the game down for a while. Picked it up in the summer of 2016. I was actually studying for the CPA exam at the time, and I needed something to take my mind off of it. And so I started playing SWGO again, and I was super casual. I didn't even hit 600 tickets a day. I was in a terrible guild. And then around March of 2017, I started to get more serious and played extremely serious from March of 2017 until August of 2018. And serious was I was 3 million galactic power pre-relics. This is before Revan was in the game. Bosk had just come in. It was a crazy time. Set the game down and picked it up in April of 2020. And I was getting made fun of in my guild because I had 3 million GP, no relics. Guys, I was getting abused. One guy in particular is you don't know what you're doing, and I am pound for pound, my account is still better than yours, okay? You have Revan, good job. You're not beating my Empire team. And it was very funny. And then now, obviously,
I love that.
Sitting where I am. But that was my, when Sith Eternal came out, I had the Empire all gear 12. Because that was meta back in the day. And so it was really funny. I was like, oh, I can get Sith Eternal right away.
Oh, this is an easy one.
Yeah, this isn't the whole First Order of Resistance from scratch. So... But anyway, that just to as a fun little anecdote there. But in terms of, so you think 5.0 first, I'm gonna kind of piggyback off of that and say that I think from the Galactic Republic perspective, I'm gonna throw these two in here simply because I'm gonna say I don't believe CG will let any repeats in this raid. They've not let repeat characters, and I feel that they have done their damnedest job to avoid it at all costs. Really,
he said the word.
Yep.
Confirmed. He is a fan of the Beaver Dam. He did say damnedest. Anyways, keep going.
Guilty as charged. But they've really avoided it as much as humanly possible. Almost to an annoying extent with some of them. And so when I look at the Jedi Vanguard, there's only 2 of them that existed before Jocasta knew that are not in battle for Naboo. And that's Emagundi and Barriss Offee. So I feel like I can't not mention them and say, yes, they're going to be in the raid. Because they're the only Jedi Vanguard that are not currently required for a raid. Because even
and we do have a 5-man that we need for the Jedi Vanguard. And because we're missing a 4th, or we have 4, we're missing 1. Kind of like the Quadme team. Or Balin, where they kind of leave up the last slot.
Yes, and so there's which one? And obviously, I hope it's Barriss. I'm sure Emagundi will be better, but I hope it's Barriss because she's an Ahsoka wreck.
And she's also one of the better plug and play characters in the game. I have seen her plugged into so much since I started, And like I just today went up against a Rey with Barriss and Shorty, and I wanted to die. It was awful. Took so long to get through with Starkiller, and I got hung up on JTR. I was like, gosh, this is annoying.
I definitely don't know why people set that team. Don't check my GAC don't check my GAC defense. You know what's funny?
Yeah.
It's here. This is funny you say that. I actually went up against a guildmate in the first round, and he dropped on my Rey team with the Ben, Shorty, Barriss, and he got hung up on JTR.
Yep.
So it's funny you say that, because that's now, to be fair, he did not have, and I'm assuming you don't either, the Starkiller Omicron on Boundless Force Throw.
I actually do. I just could not get it out.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Like I just kept having Ben and Rey kept bouncing back just because of Barriss's whenever they crit they heal thing. It just kept bouncing. I'm like, gosh dang it, let me kill Ben. And then I'd kill Ben, and then Palpatine would take a turn and he'd come back. I'm like, I cannot win. It was just awful.
Sticking with that Galactic Republic faction, I'm going to go a route and say that Jedi Master Kenobi's team could potentially be in this raid. When we think about Order 66, obviously I don't know about Kenobi himself, because I don't know if they want a GL in this raid. But of them, that he would make the most sense outside of Lord Vader. And obviously in the context of protecting the Jedi Temple, okay.
I think this one, balance-wise, this could work. Because if you go and look at JMK will time out against Tusken. Because Tuskens require an AoE to hit, and there are no AoEs in the JMK team, and so it just sits there and does nothing. And so I could see JMK being something for this wave-based stuff, because he has no way to ramp up like an AoE character if they don't give us like Jedi Knight Anakin. Now, if they gave us Jedi Knight Anakin, we'd see some ramping and we could see some problems with it, but if they don't give us Jedi Knight Anakin and they keep it to basically the JMK team, like Commander Ahsoka Tano is the version of her that goes through Order 66. Yes. And so like I could definitely see something like a JMK working without wrecking the balance of the game. Yes.
And I think you bring up a good point of Jedi Knight Anakin, because obviously he's like the one major of like, and this is my whole problem with Battle for Naboo. Just side note. You have Grandmaster Yoda, Mace Windu, all these characters that had nothing to do with the Battle for Naboo outside of sit on Coruscant and do nothing, fighting these droids. And now we have an Order 66 raid, and I can't use, Yoda and Jedi Master Kenobi to go storm the Jedi Temple. Like, come on now. That is the biggest missed opportunity in the history of gaming. Like, I could relive that dream of playing that, going into the temple and fixing the message out to the Jedi. God.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you play the Star Wars Episode 3 video game?
Oh, dude. The ending of Anakin taking the red lightsaber and stabbing Palpatine is imprinted in my memory for forever. That's canon to me as far as I'm concerned.
That game was great. I loved that game. But yeah, there's a whole sequence of Obi-Wan, fighting through the Jedi Temple and all that. That was so much fun. I was actually when they hadn't announced the other clones, one of my guesses was the assassin clones that you fight during that section where they're like super super fast and like blur with speed when they move and all that stuff. That was my guess, and then we got the disguised clone instead, and it still kind of fits in that same niche of like behind the scenes concept art stuff. So
yes,
but yeah, I could definitely see it, and I'm gonna be upset if just because we got like all the characters in Battle for Naboo, if we can't use like Mace Windu, can't use Jimmy, Grandmaster Yoda, that's what we call him because I kept stumbling over his name. If we can't use these characters, it's going to be a really big bummer. And it can almost feel like what if the whole Jedi were there at the temple kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like, I feel like it would be a really great moment because, like, they talk about the raids are meant to be, we're living through a moment in Star Wars, and Arnold talks about how much he loves that when CG does that type of thing. And this could be that. It could be, but they're so focused on moolah.
yeah, like Keller and Beck. The only time we get him is literally doing what this raid is completely about: saving younglings. He's the only person we ever saw do that. Everybody else got chomped to bits by Lord Vader.
Yeah. Coruscant Underworld Police.
Yeah, listen. You know what's crazy? It's funny you say that, but it's a bundle. Like, it's not outrageous to say that anymore.
Yeah, it technically could work.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say that it's impossible, because you think leading up to the Battle for Naboo raid, you got the Separatist bundle. Right, we got the droids, we got Newt, we got City. I don't know if we got Sidious and Maul, but we definitely got Newt and the droids.
Yeah, Sidious and Maul was much later, but yeah, we did eventually get them.
We got the entire Galactic Republic.
Yeah,
between the Jedi Allies, the General Skywalker bundle, which I kind of called the gas bundle, the Kenobi bundle, but that's basically led you there. But I think the Galactic Republic faction, obviously there's still a lot more there, but I think the Kenobi team to me screams raid material now, because
yeah, and untapped potential, like things that have not been used.
Yes, like everybody built Kenobi for how many years, and then nobody has. Like your account, going back to it, you don't have and you're close, but you don't have Kenobi yet, and you're 10 million. I can remember when Kenobi was people's first galactic legend.
Yeah, and like you look at AP Gaines' old free-to-play farming guide, and it was you go for Kenobi as your first GL, and it was back before we knew how you were going to get a cat, of course, because CG had just said, hey, we'll give you a way to get cat eventually. And like, JMK is a very fancy paperweight without her. And now it just doesn't make sense. There's so much more reason to go for the Rebel Trinity, to push into that stuff. JMK is part of the bougie bunch. It's expensive. It's hard to get into. It doesn't make sense. So giving us a reason to get back into the bougie bunch, which is what this raid basically is, just pushing people to do Lord Vader now. Yeah, I could definitely see them pushing for a JMK as well.
Oh, big time. So what would you say? So those were our first, like, all right, this kind of makes sense. What would you say, kind of going a little bit further off the reservation, where you're still on it? We're still using, not just logic, but like, okay, what makes sense? Where would you go next? What's the next faction you think?
So we're still a little bit of logic, but also kind of going into a little bit off the trail. I could actually see just kind of bouncing off the JMK stuff, Padme. I think we could see like something like Sith wise, but that's a little bit harder to argue, and I think that's a little bit farther off the beaten path. But Padme's another one of those ones that just feels like no one's going for her. I suggest you don't go for her. Mine's still gear 12.
Yeah, I'm looking. I have yours pulled up right now. The relic lock is wild.
Yeah, like
I guess people. Hold on here. Let me get my. There we go. People, now you can see the relic lock there. I had to move my face.
Yeah, like the gear 12. Okay, so yes, she was insanely important during C-Pit, which is why she's gear 12 with 2 Zetas right now. And so I was working towards getting the whole team relic for my guild back when C-Pit was a thing. But then C-Pit finished, and I'm like sitting here, I'm like, Qui-Gon has a higher hold rate. I can throw my Jedi with him, and she gets soloed by Malik. So what's the point of having her in my roster? And so I have never brought her up, because I'm like, I'll get her up when I go for JMK and Lord Vader. And that kept getting pushed out because every new thing, Leia, profanity, all that stuff is so much better than going for Lord Vader and JMK. So this is literally a light speed bundle. I had Emphas Nest at almost 7-star.
I brought her up because you said how, Leia gets soloed by like Malik. She could get soloed by Emphas Nest.
Really? Padme could get soloed by Emphas Nest?
Because you know how Nest, she, where is it? On her basic, she'll dispel defensive buffs.
Oh, wow.
And then it's, where is it? Whenever an enemy loses a buff or debuff, she gains 2% critical damage stacking until the end of the encounter. So
interesting.
Every time you ruined their protection up and tenacity, crit damage, immunity, all of those things from that Padme team, Nest would solo it.
Yeah, now, and then the courage counts as a separate damage instance, so it would just add to the protection that she's stacking too.
Yeah, it was a mess. It was a lot of fun. It was a very risky counter because again, they could one shot you potentially, but if you could time it right, and she can ignore taunt, so you could kill Anakin right away. It was. It's just funny you said that, and I was like, oh, you didn't need Malik, you could use Nest.
Yeah, Nest was, so especially where I was in the game when I started, there was no free-to-play friendliness when I started in this game. Absolutely none. Because it was before the raid changes, it was before double gear. There was no free-to-play friendliness back then. And so, like, I couldn't afford to go for something like Emphas Nest because it was just off the beaten path. It wasn't required for anything. And so I just couldn't justify it. Nowadays, if I were to make an account, yes, I always factor in solo characters when I'm building up my account because I can afford to go for them now. But yeah, Emphas Nest was always one that I wanted to try out, never got around to. So when they dropped a Lightspeed bundle, I was like, I'm buying it.
Yeah. So you think Padme, that's your kind of, is there anybody outside of the Galactic Republic that we haven't mentioned that you think, or just kind of throwing Padme, maybe instead of JMK lead, it's Padme lead?
Besides that, like it's getting really rough to see anything else besides like maybe we could do some Sith. Like I could see throwing in some characters that kill Jedi regularly. Like I could see a use for Savage in this raid maybe. But like even then you're getting severely limited on the characters you can use, like Emperor Palpatine and things like that. And so I don't know, for a full faction, for like a full team, besides the old Bad Batch, which I doubt they'll do, I think Padme is like the most realistic I have on my, like, this is something I could actually hope for versus this is out there and this is what I'm guessing and it's possible this is going to happen.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to throw in the next one here, and this is kind of, I feel like there's two parts of me. So I'm going to say Inquisitors.
This is my out there one. This is my out there one is Inquisitors. Yep. It's like, this is the one where I'm like, they have a Lightspeed bundle for it. Reva was there as a youngling. This is all about killing Jedi. I could definitely see the Inquisitorius being a faction, and they could charge $50 for it. They leave the bundle away for, like, give it a couple months into the raid, and then they bring it back just like they did with the Jedi Allies, and it would just be the perfect spot for them to pop in. So this is my out there, like, this is the one.
Oh, see, I think it's so. I still think I'm like somewhat on the reservation with this one, but I say that because, like you said, there was a Lightspeed bundle already, and the trend I noticed with their Lightspeed bundles is they tie their Lightspeed bundles into the content that's coming. Like, we just had the Rogue One Lightspeed bundle, and Bodhi Rook is getting a Datacron that is broken, by the way. But
you cannot convince me that they're not leading up to a Profundity Lifter as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be it needs to happen at this point because it's kind of embarrassing. But that's where I think Inquisitors fit into this. They're, in my opinion, if you told me, hey, Phil, you could farm Mandos or you could farm Inquisitors, which one do you want? I want Mandos. I think Mandos are a much more in-demand team than the Inquisitors are. Because as good as Inquisitors can be, Mandos, in my opinion, are serving a better purpose at times. I say at times because not all the time.
I also think that there's been a fall off for this. like a harsh fall off. Like it used to be every guild goes for Inquisitors, and I justified an Inquisitor farm because Scythe was so important. TIE Interceptor was so important. Then you also got Reva out of it. There was so much there to help a guild out. And then they dropped the Dorito buff and the punishing one. And all of a sudden, it doesn't matter if you have the Scythe, the TIE Interceptor. It just doesn't. Like, yes, you can still beat it with Executrix for the Executor. But the point was that you could beat all 3 GL ships with the TIE Interceptor and the Scythe in that fleet. And you could have a damn good time doing it. Now it's hard for me to justify suggesting this farm to people unless their guild's hard pushing it together. And the Lightspeed bundle, I think, was not able to be dropped until they made those changes because they were such a vital next farm for most guilds. Now everyone switches and they're going for Zepho, they're going for Mando ready. This is not a thing. And so now that this is not a thing, putting in the raid makes it more of a I need to get this now versus pushing it down to whenever I want to. I get Reva naturally from my guild having, 20 people Reva ready, and I'll get it when I get it,
Yeah, and because again, like, and I think you're closer to this. This hits closer to home for you. A lot of people who are unlocking these character GI and Reva now don't have the Zetas to equip to them anyways, and if there's one thing Capital Games is famous for, it's getting you to equip Zetas that you don't want to equip. Which is, think of Maul, Newt Gunray, and Sidious in the Battle for Naboo. There are people who equip those Zetas that will never use them outside of the raid. But because they're a max score team in the raid, you're going to equip the Zetas. And I'm wondering if there's some things with the Inquisitors that they'll make sure that you need the Zetas to score the max.
I still regret the Luminar Zeta. I didn't want to apply it. It still bugs me, and it always will.
That was a soul hurting Zeta to equip. That's up there for me.
Although I don't regret the Omicron on Phalanx, not one bit. Being able to auto the raid and not care. And It also helped that someone donated $69. Oh, sorry, not Phalanx. Which one was it?
Boomadir.
Boomadir. Yes, Boomadir.
Phalanx, you were about to get booted off of this thing, and it is, don't ever listen to him, unsubscribe. No.
For a solid couple of weeks, I was in the top 20 in the game for people that had Phalanx Omicron. Also, someone donated for that one too, though. That's the only reason that I was willing to do it.
Oh my god! I could.
As I said, all of my Relic 8s and Relic 9s were all memes. Essentially, it's the same thing with that Omicron. It was just a meme. I was in the top 20 in the game for having that Omicron.
You know, it's so like this is where you're a better person than me. If somebody was like, Phil, go do this, like I'd just be like, no, like what did somebody say? Somebody said, Phil, if I do this, will you? It was like a donation or something. Like, will you do this? And I was like, no.
To be fair, at the time, so I had finished like everything that I needed to Omicron in my account at the time because I hadn't finished all the conquest units or anything. I wasn't working on really new stuff at all. And so like I had 5 Omicrons, almost 6, just lying around in my account. And so I dropped 3 on Jar Jar as soon as I got him. And then I had 2 extra and I didn't have a single character that I needed to Omicron at the time. And so I was like, sure, I'm willing to do it because you guys you guys are wanting this. But yeah, now I have plenty of people that I need to Omicron, but back then I really didn't need anything. And so yeah, I've got like all of the Gungan Omicrons.
Except Tarpals, which is actually good.
yeah. But that's the thing is I never brought them up past Relic 5. And so like
that's a smart choice though. That's a smart choice.
Like I didn't need more than that. None of my guilds have required, more than 3 million in overall score, and I've always been able to get over 3 million with that. And like it's never have I been more depressed in money spent than getting Gungans day 1 and then like 7 months later fighting a Gungan team on my free to play account with Gear 12 Phoenix and beating a Relic 7 Gungan team. And I was like, I wasted so much money for this.
Yeah. to me, they're one of those teams that conceptually they're great. But as soon as you read a lot of their stuff and it's all like anti-separatist and anti-separatist and anti-separatist, and you're like, oh no. Like, this is the whole Sith Eternal problem against anything not named Jedi and Rebel.
Yeah. But to be fair, on offense, they're not bad. I've actually, like, I went up against a Rey Hezra, and you know how much of a menace that team is. And I took out basically everyone on that team with just Gungans, and I picked it apart and then finished it off with another team. Regular Rey, it beats regular Rey with Ben, like, every time. Like, really solid team overall. Like, the reason that I lost in the Rey Hezra was due to a timeout, if I recall. Like,
oof.
it's still a great team. It just doesn't lead anywhere. It's easy to counter on defense. It's pain.
And I think what I get split on their defensive, because the one thing you got to give them is the teams that beat them on defense are oftentimes better for something else. Or if you're going to use the Phoenix, it's kind of risky. But
I mean, to be fair, I used it today. Like, literally today during GAC, I went with Phoenix, and I instantly had Hera die, and then I instantly had Sabine die. Sabine got Death Mark, and then they focused down Hera, and they killed both of them off. Still won with just 3 of them. And I was like, that's just sad. And that's with Lightspeed bundle, Relic 3 Phoenix with a Crex. So, yeah, I don't know.
Now, what would you say is your... Now, I think you talked, like, your out there take is Inquisitors for...
Yeah. I think the farthest out there I'm willing to go is Inquisitorious. Anything that, like, heavily focuses on fighting Jedi, I could see it. But Inquisitorious just... It makes too much sense, but also no sense at all. And so that's what makes me think that it would be perfect. And it's another one of those, they'll make you spend $50 for it, or you have to farm up so many Kyrotech characters. So many. That's why, on the last video we talked about, I don't think this is going to be free to play friendly. That's not free to play friendly. This is like as many Kyrotechs as the early game GLs, where you're going for like SLKR and that type of stuff. This is the same amount of Kyrotech. Like, it's a wild amount of effort to get these teams up. And so, yeah.
I can fully support that, because I don't think they're that out there like you do. Because my out there...
Let's hear it. I think you mentioned it, and I was like, ooh, I don't know about this one. Yeah.
Sith Empire, baby. And here's my thing. I would never have said this team if it wasn't for the Old Republic in the Crate Raid. I get that the Old Republic, they fought, the Crate Dragon in KOTOR. But what else happened in KOTOR? Some dude named Darth Malgus ransacked the Jedi Temple. And so he was there, right? He's doing the same thing that the Order 66 clones are doing to the Jedi Temple. So I look at that and I think along the lines of, they're a team that is very easy to convince people to invest in. From a free-to-play, they're Leviathan. Malgus is obviously popular.
And this is also a one that's like, a lot of people are rough to go for. Like, people are like, I have Darth Revan in my account. And it's like, well, don't farm him. You have, you're close to Jabba, you're close to Leia, you're close to JML. Finish those instead. I know you bought the Lightspeed bundle, but you don't have Malgus yet. And so, like, I could see some, some of that, basically CG being like, yo, no, you need to go work on this because you're not working on it currently. They're always trying to find a way for you to work on the things that have fallen off. They added Crex, now Phoenix is important, so then they can sell the bundle that comes with all the Phoenix. So
and now too, I think with this faction, before the Dorito buff, everybody was taking their Sith Assassin. I mean, mine's Relic 7, which I still regret, but everybody took her to Relic 8 and Relic 9, which I laugh at because I just get better with counters. But this is a team now that you're not going to invest extra relics into for the sake of their ship. It's like the one fleet that it doesn't matter what your relics are. And so how do you get people to spend extra relics on some of these other characters here? Put them in the raid. And so that's my out there is they were at the Jedi Temple, which is the same defense that you would use for the, Jawas kind of being in the Crate raid and the Old Republic being there. I mean, you show me where Captain Drogon is in the Speeder Bike raid and where Veers and Stark and Range Trooper and Death Trooper are, and, I'll give you a gold star. So, like, we can't get too caught up in the thematic of they had to be at Order 66, and so that's kind of why I went here is with the Jedi Temple. They were there.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the whole Malgus assaulting the Jedi Temple when you mentioned this. Before we started doing this, I was just like immediately thinking like Darth Revan. I'm like, it doesn't quite make sense. So it makes more sense now. It'd be for sure interesting.
Again, it's out there. It's I love it because that's one of my favorite cinematics of all time is watching Malgus and the Sith Marauders just show up at the Jedi Temple and absolutely ruin everybody's life.
If anyone here has not watched any of the cinematic trailers for SWTOR, Star Wars: The Old Republic, go watch them. There's videos where you can just watch through all of them, and it'll be like a 20-minute short film. All of them are freaking amazing. They're done by a studio called Blur Studios. They did like the Halo Wars cinematics, Halo 2 remaster. They did the opening sequence in Deadpool where it like goes through the car and everything's like flying everywhere. They are amazing at CG, and they should just go make a show. But obviously, Blur Studios is super expensive to hire out. But yeah, it's just phenomenal. Chef's kiss. I go watch them like once a year at least.
Oh, dude, yeah, there's like a 40-minute Old Republic one that I just have like, well, once a month, let me go watch this and it's some of the best lightsaber fights that you'll see in Star Wars are in those commercials. Like it's just, in the trailers, they're just so good. But that's my out there, and I think because it does help them, this is the really out there part, so you got to have a really out there part, and the really out there is they're going to come with a new fleet. And so they're going to want to get everybody to capitalize on Leviathan while they can, because that next fleet is going to come in and obsolete Leviathan. And so if we can, because this is the one of the capital ships, not having this at 7-star is the most detrimental. Profundity and Executor are much better at lower stars comparative to what this is at lower stars.
Yeah, this essentially does nothing at 4-star. They lock every single good ability of this fleet behind the subsequent star levels.
Yes, and 7-star being the most important of them. And not that the other ones don't benefit from the 7-star, but not like Leviathan does. And
yeah, so, Leviathan with the 7-star, you're getting killing reinforcements when they come in. You're getting the what is it called? The isolate, and those two right there. Without those two in the fleet immediately is so much less powerful.
Yes, and so that's my thought process is they've kept Leviathan at the top of the meta because you get it and you rush it to 7-star, and no other fleet has had that. And so I think maybe with this, raid, it's their last opportunity to cash in on the Sith Empire before they make before they make Sith Empire obsolete with Red 5. Because, come on now. Where the hell is Red 5?
Honestly, I think it's going to be Luthen. I think Red 5 is going to be a back pocket one to lift up Home 1 at some point in the future. But I think we're getting a Luthen. I think that Luthen's going to be the thing that we get. Because Season 2 of Andor's coming up. So I think the next conquest unit is going to be Luthen's ship to lift up the Profundity.
I'd be okay with that as well. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, give me something to disable or stun a capital ship due to the thing he does in Season 1. Heck yeah, I'm so down.
So, what is your, kind of wrapping up this video, wrapping up the last one? this new raid, obviously we don't think it's going to be free to play friendly. What is the single piece of advice you would give to somebody in this raid?
Ooh, I think this last video that we did that's on my channel, I think we covered it really well. Finish what you're doing now so you're in a good place to farm what's coming. You could, maybe side farm the new Bad Batch because they're the easiest.
Oh, we lost him. Hold on. Whoa. We lost. Hold on. No. I was doing so good. I lost him.
Don't worry, I'm still here.
There he
You
is.
can't see me, but I'm still a ghost. Hold on. But yeah, like I think that doing the prep work now of finishing up what you're doing, like it's not as important to go for something like like the Lord Vader clones when you haven't done a Java, when you haven't finished your GL ship you're working on. Please finish your farms first. Maybe consider the Bad Batch for now. But like farming for these new things is gonna harm your roster versus help you get to the place that you want to be for this raid. Yes, we want to be able to get the first crate to start out, but don't harm your roster by trying to over prep for the raid now, especially when we don't have the information we need.
There you guys have it. He's gonna say it better than I will ever be able to form inside of a logical sentence. So Beaver, man, I really appreciate you hopping on. This was a lot of fun. I always have fun collabing, and obviously getting to learn from you on how to set up this collab cam was super helpful. So massive shout out for that. Really appreciate all you guys stopping by. Listen, we're going to have Beaver's channel linked in the description. Make sure you guys go sub, follow, go to all of his live streams because he's much better at this than I am. So appreciate you all. May the force be with you, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.